as somebody on the left, if you don't like Jeremy Corbyn, there's something wrong with you. It's that very old militant left, and it's destroying the Labour Party. And even somebody over here, they're very pro-Corbyn, and I've never liked him. And I think the party itself needs to get rid of that very hard left view that it has. Because
describe it for me, will you?
Like I said, I just think the country is still very conservative. Even working class people, there's this.
No, but I don't know. What do you mean by that? Because Brexit is out of the game now. That's over.
I can't explain it. It's like
you must know what you mean. Are you being too polite? You want to say something a bit like what Lily Allen has said, and you want to say that the country is a bit racist and misogynistic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost like that. The Conservatives scream to that very working class man, don't they? And women, of course. But the Thatcher sort of not nationalism. You can't say that. It's
Why
sort
not?
of that. I don't know. Well,
if that's the word that popped into your head, Sarah, own it.
I know. I just believe that. People.
Can I have a go?
They hate Blair.
Let me.
Please,
I've been thinking.
Help me.
Well, I tell you what. I think that because you try and work out why people care so passionately about stuff that you either don't understand or don't recognise. And then you look at the media, which does set, obviously, the conversational agenda for the country, whether it's your Auntie Doris's Facebook feed or whether it's, the Daily Mail or Panorama. And this idea that people aren't being looked after or spoken to seems to me to be a debate, oddly, about minorities. So Justin Welby comes out today and warns that he thinks that the persecution of minorities is on the rise and it's problematical. That'll get reported. Now, this is very, very fresh, Sarah, so forgive me if I make a fool of myself with what follows. But it's a bit like when those stories appear about something being outrageous, and I can never find anyone who's actually outraged about it. All I can find is the people describing how awful it is. Let me try again on that. You get it. So let's go back to the heydays of political correctness, right? And you'd get a story about the word blackboard being banned in a school, right? You could never really find anyone in favour of banning the word blackboard in a school, but you could find 1 million people absolutely outraged at the idea that they were banning the word blackboard in school because it might be construed as racist. So if I'm a consumer of media, I think the last 20 years have turned me into someone who thinks that they're always whoever they are, they're always getting on their high horse about minorities and blackboards and gender neutral toilets. No one actually is, but it's great copy.
I reject those statements, and I find those newspapers or that propaganda complete nonsense, and I think the majority of people do as well. But it just happens that the minority of people that believe that tend to be more driven to go out and vote.
I see what you mean. So we're thinking about the third of the country that didn't vote last week now, and whether they just sit there thinking none of it makes any difference to me. A position that, given what the Labour Party probably has to do to win back voters, a position that may be oddly pertinent. Sarah, thank you. I'm going to try again at that. I think that's right. It's as if the reaction is bigger than the action. There you go. We got there in the end. It's because I do this for a living, and a lot of the time, it feels like I'm blowing out blue touch paper that's been lit by other approaches to the same stories. So here is a story about, I don't know, a kid in a skirt. Or here is a story about a gender-neutral sausage roll. Or here is a story... And you very rarely find huge numbers of people queuing up to go, what do we want? Gender-neutral sausage rolls. When do we want them? Tea time, please. But you can find millions of people, especially in this business, generally the sort of older, bigger, right-wing men who are constantly outraged by a kid in a skirt or a gender-neutral sausage roll, or what else are we getting outraged about today? Lily Allen, or do you see what I mean? It's as if the reaction has become 1 million times bigger than the original action. And the country has been seduced by the idea that there are secretly burrowing away millions of people trying to force gender-neutral sausage rolls and boys in skirts on them. As if there's some sort of secret. This is where the George Soros stuff, perhaps, comes in. This idea that there's a secret mission to undermine something that you can't really describe but you're part of. Indigenous northern tribes of Europe. Do you see what I mean? I never meet people who are passionately in favour of gender-neutral sausage rolls. Ever. Yeah, you read the odd article. You should sometimes, if you're in a newsroom, if you're in a media organisation where debates are still the way, confected debates are still the way of putting programming together. You hear the desperation with which people ring around trying to find someone to argue one corner. So could I possibly tempt you to come on the television this evening and argue in favour of gender-neutral sausage rolls? Oh, well, no, I know. I promise next time it'll be a more intelligent conversation. But could you help me out on this one? We really need someone to come on and put the boot into the BBC. Would you do that? Could you? And then you see how it plays out on the pages of newspapers or on TV and radio. And I think a large part of what I see as a problem, you may not think it's a problem, a large part of the problem is people are persuaded that there's this invisible army of do-gooding liberals dedicated to trying to ruin their lives. And yet when you ask them how their lives are potentially being ruined, what do they come up with? Gender-neutral sausage rolls and boys in skirts. There's nothing else. Where's the evidence? Oh, and George Soros. Yes. What? 0345 6060 973. How does Labour deal with that? Steve's in Guildford.